Hello. I'm guessing that's Mark over there, but you are muted.
Oh, nice. So you're not live anymore, are you?
Oh, we're remote.
Weren't you remote and live at one point?
I think you came to the one live meeting we did in the last 4 years.
Great. Well,
Well,
I'm here in town of Shutesbury.
yeah. Oh, you're in the town hall?
Yes. Say hello.
I'm
Oh
thinking
my
of
goodness.
going home, but
I'll sit in my truck. It's fine. It's
is
just
it,
turned on. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'll be on my truck.
Um,
don't go out until because I have something I'm still doing.
Okay.
You may,
I'm going to grab my files then.
okay. You can
yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's my fault. I just, I went to that meeting. It was live, so I didn't think you would change back.
But I think you did call into it that one. But yeah, no, I mean, it's as long as you have service there.
That's the surprising part. Isn't that amazing? We have service in Town Hall of Shutesbury. I'm going to grab my stuff out of my truck. Not that I really need
Okay.
it, but might as well sit here with it.
All right. Now I
Thank you, Ellen.
see we have Michael, Tom, and Keith.
Good.
All right, so with I'm gonna designate Tom as a full member. And having done that, I'm gonna call this meeting of the Shutesbury Planning Board to order.
Ooh.
I'll note that the meeting is being recorded and is being held virtually. I'll also note that our land use clerk is unable to attend tonight's meeting.
Thanks a lot.
So before we do anything else, I'm actually going to ask if someone would volunteer to actually, you know what? Never mind. Because Mateo will use the transcript, so we're
Yeah,
good.
he asked me to take minutes for the executive session discussion.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's what that's what I had in my head was for that. I'm going to make you a co-host, Michael.
Okay.
No,
All
it's
right,
me.
and I see Jeff is in the waiting room. All right, so moving on to our first order of business, which is public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to make public comment? Mary Lou Conca, I see you have your hand up. Would you like to speak? You're on mute, so unmute yourself, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mary Lou Kankaya. I live on 105 Wendell Road, and I have a couple of questions. Well, first, can the iPhone person identify themselves? Because I don't know who that is. And two, can you give us some kind of hint about this executive session? Is it in regard to the case? Because as a town resident, I thought the Coles, that whole case is gone or not active. Thank you.
Sure. Well, I'll do the first off. I believe that's Mark Whiteman on his iPhone there, attending the meeting remotely. He has an agenda item with us tonight regarding the executive session. The purpose of entering the executive session will be to review some of the minutes from prior executive sessions. And we've been advised by town council that even though the litigation has now ended, that we are okay to go into executive session for the purpose of reviewing those minutes that have not yet been made public. And that's all we're going to say about that at this time. Thank you very much. Now, is there anyone else who would like to make public comment?
Hey, Nathan. I just want to quickly jump in and introduce myself, if that's okay.
I would love that. Thank you for coming, Jesse.
Oh, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Jessie Grogan. My family and I moved to town a little more than a year ago, and I'm considering throwing my hat in the ring for planning board when elections come up in the spring. I work at the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy, which some of you may have encountered. My work has mostly been focused on urban issues, but I do a lot with economic development and affordable housing. So I'm interested in coming today just to watch the meeting and learn a little bit more about what issues are at play and get to know you guys a little bit so I can think about whether I want to run in the spring.
Jesse, thank you very much for coming tonight. It's good to have you, and it's exciting news, I think, for Shutesbury. Anytime somebody that does anything professionally with planning has an interest in serving on one of our zoning boards. So that's outstanding news. We hope you enjoy the show tonight and look forward to hopefully signing some nomination papers, right? So thank you for your
Jesse, I
interest.
think you have one vote already.
Well,
The campaign has begun.
I will support anybody who is interested in volunteering and contributing to our work on these boards. So now, okay, I think that wraps up public comment. Now I'm going to ask, is there anybody who is here for landowner education and guidance? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to note that this is a portion of the meeting that we provide for any member of the public who may or may not be thinking about putting some business before the planning board or the zoning board of appeals to come before an open meeting and just have a quick interaction with the board as to how they might proceed, what the process might be like, anything like that. And I'm kind of laying that out a little bit because at the last meeting we had someone that wanted landowner education and guidance, and they waited for like 2 hours, and they were like, "Hey, hello." So this is the moment if that's you.
He's talking to me.
Hearing and seeing none. I mean, I heard a little bit of chat. I don't know if someone was trying to say something. Okay, hearing and seeing none, we're going to move on to our next agenda item. And this will be, I have review and approve minutes for 11:10. I think we're gonna push that back a little bit just because we do have some other people that are here attending the meeting. I think next we'll take on the Whiteman conservation restriction for 101 Leverett Road, lot H-151. Now on this item, we do have Mark Whiteman with us. Mark, before I'd just like to note, I believe Mateo has distributed what was a conservation restriction, and it's been approved by the Conservation Commission, I believe, right? They've signed off on it. And
It's been
currently,
approved. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Mark, go ahead. Has it been approved by the state yet, or is it with the state currently?
Yes, so it's been approved by the state, the Conservation Commission, and the Select Board.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's on board.
All right.
It meets all the requirements that you had in the special permit, that it meets the Mass General Law 134, sections, whatever it was, 31 through 33, I believe. Obviously, the state wouldn't approve it if it didn't. So we're still waiting for the final signature copy from the state, but we've been back and forth. We've been back and forth with them twice, and they gave us final approval. And that once we had the final approval, then they told us it was now time to have the Conservation Commission and the Select Board sign
Alana,
off.
could I ask you something?
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Jeff, was that you?
Yeah, Jeff was not muted.
It is me, but I don't know what's happening. I'm not on video or
Yes, you are.
or audio.
Yeah, I can see you and hear you.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know that.
All right, no worries.
It's a different computer. I'm in Ann
Okay.
Arbor, Michigan. Thank you so much.
And no worries. And do you understand the agenda topic we're on?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay.
So to finish that, we've been back and forth to the state a couple of times, and they had very minor edits. So I give Berkshire Design a lot of credit for putting this together very well, and also the Conservation Commission, because they held my hand through the whole thing. It was a lot more extensive than I expected. The Conservation Commission had signed off, as well as the Select Board signed off. Then we sent it down to the state, and they said, wrong. You got to sign after we tell you it's okay. So we sent it back to the state with the small edits they had on the second round, and they approved it and said, now we need the Select Board and the Planning Board, or excuse me, the Select Board and the Conservation Commission as the CR holder to sign off. And then we sent it back to them. I think if Matteo was here, he could tell me for sure, but I think it was about a month ago we sent it back to them. They had said they'd have it back to us immediately. State, I don't know what that means by the state. So it doesn't matter in the fashion that it has already been approved, and the Select Board and Conservation Commission signed off on the most important part of it.
Did anyone else have a chance to look at this and see, kind of confirm what we have? Okay, I'm seeing some nodding heads, right? So would anyone like to offer, I mean, so we have a condition and a special permit that was the special permit was awarded to Mark Whiteman as the applicant for lot H151. It was an open space design for a single buildable lot, right? And that's what the conservation restrictions for. One of the conditions for that special permit was that, they'd bring the conservation restriction to the board for us to review and approve it. Right? So we need to, for the condition to be met, we have to give some sort of approval, which can be a roll call vote. And I would imagine Mark might like to have a letter, from us to that effect.
Sure. The vote's
does that,
fine.
what's that?
The vote is fine.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yep.
So I can make a motion, or try to at least.
That I would love that. I would love that.
Okay. I move that the grant of conservation restriction presented to the planning board on December 8th, 2026, approved by the Shutesbury Conservation Commission and Select Board and the Commonwealth, meets our condition for a special permit.
Okay, we have a motion on the table that
Second.
essentially will say that we met that condition for the special permit. And does anyone second that motion?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
I'm just impressed that Mark is still sitting.
So's Mark.
Right, yeah.
I would say Mark is practically an honorary member of the planning board himself at this point.
I was going to vote for the woman who was speaking earlier about joining, but I thought that was probably out of line.
Well, I mean, if you end up building a house there, Mark, you could.
Well, as I said, I actually have it under deposit to some very nice people who have a sister. Yeah, who lives in town. And I'll discuss that after the vote's finish, and we'll have another conversation about one other condition.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, I'll call the roll. I see DeCara,
Hi.
Hasty,
Aye.
Pycroft,
Aye.
Seifert.
Aye.
Weston.
Aye.
I see Bressler there too.
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Great.
The motion passes unanimously. Okay, and so Mark, I guess you have something else you'd like to ask about?
Yes, thanks for the time.
Well,
There's
I'm not going to give you very much time because we don't have it formally on our agenda and we have a lot to talk about. So I just want to very quickly, if you would.
That's quicker. That's longer than what I'm going to say.
Okay, good.
The neighbor At nine, one of the conditions is that I agreed to either put an arborvitae row of plantings to shield 97 Levitt Road from the road going in, or give them up to $10,000. I got a call from Mac a few months ago, who was the gentleman who was on the planning board meeting representing his family from 97 Levitt Road at that planning board meeting. And he called me a few months ago and asked when I was going to be able to send him the $10,000. And I said, because your lawyers had said that was okay to do it that way. And I told him I was waiting for a final CR approval. And once I had that, I could send him the money. Unfortunately, I can't get a hold of him any longer. The post office, I sent a certified letter return receipt requested to that house. I didn't get anything back in 2 weeks. I went to the post office. They said they no longer have a mailbox at that location, and they canceled their PO box. There's no way to get mail to them. So I went to the house, knocked on the door, saw an extra car there that I hadn't seen earlier. Nobody answered after the dog was barking for a while. I thought maybe it's Kristen and she works at night, who is the owner. So I left a letter in her doorknob on her car. It rained that night. Thought it might have gotten destroyed. Went back 10 days later, put one in an envelope in her car, handle again. No response now in I think almost 2 weeks. So I don't know how to get a hold. I'm trying to give them $10,000. I'm not sure how to do that. It's a requirement of the permit to get a building permit that has to be paid. So any suggestions would be appreciated. I've never had so much time, such a difficult time giving somebody that kind of money.
Well, yeah, we can look into that and we'll get back to you, Mark.
Appreciate it.
But thank you, for the update on that piece as well.
Not a problem. I don't want to hold you any longer. Thank you for the time.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
right.
Thank you.
All right,
I'm
have a
glad
good
we
night.
were able to wrap up the conservation piece. I know that was quite a thing.
Yeah, that was quite a thing. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Sure thing.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Next, we do have coordination with Board of Health on regulations. And I'm wondering if there's anyone here from the Board of Health. Which I don't see anyone. So that's fine. We'll have to follow up with them after this and just kind of check in and see where they're at. Does anyone know anything?
I was just rereading the emails, I think earlier today, and they said they were going to get us a draft of something
Yeah.
either by today or a couple of days ago. So, and I did see Arlene at the library potluck, and she said they were working on something. But that's as much as I know.
Yeah, so they may have talked about it at their last meetings or whatever, and then just not quite gotten to the point where they have anything to share yet, right? Tom, you haven't been in touch with anything or seen anything, Tom?
I was at their last meeting, but I think how you described it is accurate. They were wondering about, they had attended a BEST seminar or webinar that I had also attended, and they were glad to be educated a little more about it. And yeah, I don't want to speak for them. I think the best thing to say is that they've identified parameters that they want to work within now a little better.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, just kind of they're still working on it, I guess is good enough for us. Well, now that it's 7:17 and we cleared a few extra items pretty quickly there, I say we'll go back to the minutes for November 10th, 2025.
Vote to approve the minutes of November 10th, 2025.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ashley Pycroft seconds. Okay. And for discussion, I see that let's see, Michael had
A really simple one. It's page
Yeah.
6. It's basically,
here, you know what? I'm going to actually get this up on my
Okay.
screen because I can. Is that right? Okay. All right. Can everyone see the minutes? Should I zoom in a little bit?
Bigger is better.
You said page 6?
Yeah. And it's the line, it's a, like the third paragraph, it starts question and response. And it should just be the articles that have hasty assent.
Michael, your voice
Mm.
is coming across a little electronic or something.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's just that it's just the articles that hasty assent as opposed to Jeff being skeptical about his own articles.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I've got one other note down in that same area.
Yeah, okay.
I'm looking for it. It's where talking, there's a paragraph in there where I speak to open space design. I think it might
Is that
be
the same?
somewhere in that. I'm looking on my phone, so I can't see the whole page. And I don't know what page
Okay.
it's on.
Oh, yeah, okay. I've got it right here. You see that?
No, I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
It's bottom of page 5.
Hasty suggests using language from the open space design section to prevent data centers from being grouped too close together by giving a developer benefits for spreading them out.
Yeah, I think and I haven't gone back to watch the video. My intent of referencing open space design was to keep them clustered, not to spread them out.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of the exact opposite of how it reads. And again, if I said it that way, I guess leave it in here, but that wasn't my intent.
I think the intent came across. That's how I remember it, that you were basically saying to me, not have them be all over the place.
Yeah. So we can, let's see. To you know, rather than taking up time trying to figure out what to say here, should I mean, would everyone be amenable to, and I can go in and just kind of, I'll make a comment and say, clarify. Clarify. So we'll say to be clarified via transcript. And so we'll go in and, it's kind of, we have a motion and, so oftentimes we incorporate edits during discussion. Should we ask for a motion to amend the motion to just, provide for me to go in and make this update after we voted on approving the minutes?
I just I mean, I think based on what Keith said, it's really easy. It could just
Yeah.
be Hasty suggests using language from the open space design section to promote clustering of data centers.
Okay.
Keith, that gets to it, right?
That was my intent. Again, I haven't gone back to see if maybe it came out completely different, but in my mind, that was what I meant.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Okay. Anyone else have anything going
Can you
on?
just do one typo correction of my name spelling
Yeah.
on the bottom of page 6? It's funny because it's right after it mentions that I corrected my name spelling. Are you scrolling on your document, Nathan? Because it's just frozen on my screen. I don't know.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Same here.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I forgot to resume sharing. I paused it because I was moving stuff around.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right there. Exactly. Thank you. It looks like it's where your cursor is. Perfect. Appreciate it.
And Nathan, I have a comment too, if I could.
Please.
Could you go back to page 6?
Yeah.
Thanks.
We're on 6.
I think it was just a typo. It said Weston responds with skepticism about the reliability of an article. I just read one, a single article that, okay, you fixed it, that Hasty sent since it was funded by industry. I only talked about one article. About an article since it was funded by industry. I only actually looked at the first article that was sent. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. That's correct.
And this was the
This is an article on lithium batteries that was written by a for-profit agency supporting the lithium energy basically industry. And that's the only article I looked at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was going through. I've got some edits in Word. So I've got, instead of activates, designates CFER as a voting member. So, and then so I just kind of added a little bit more context here. I said Reed clarifies the boundaries of the coordination effort between boards, indicating that the BH, Board of Health, might want to focus more on battery storage and the PB on data centers, noting that she thinks that the Board of Health has more latitude to regulate battery energy storage systems than the planning board would. And, I said, I kind of clarified mine a little bit further. Murphy notes the Attorney General has ruled that battery storage are covered under the solar exemption in the Zoning Act. The planning board cannot unreasonably regulate or prohibit best, but reasonable regulation for the purpose of public health and welfare is okay.
Nathan, you might want to just add safety in there too, since that's part of the, isn't it? Public health, safety and welfare.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And then and Michael started talking and said he agrees, and he added that agrees that zoning cannot be used to prohibit or unreasonably restrict energy storage, and as this is where I add that there's little guidance available for what would constitute reasonable regulation. And he notes the clean energy law passed last November, and that the regulations are currently being developed and will include requirements for municipalities to utilize a consolidated and time-bound permit process for solar facilities under 25 megawatts and energy storage facilities under 100 megawatts. That period. And I just, kind of replaced the sentence where he said, he notes the situation with the new state regulations coming soon, it's evolving, and summarizes some of the major changes under the new state regulations. So I just kind of expanded that a little bit with some details. And that's all I had. So everyone good with that?
Assuming I said it, I'm great with it.
Yeah, it's,
accurate.
yeah, no, it is. I mean, that was, like you did say explicitly that, we don't have anything to tell us what reasonable is. We know it's unreasonable, but we don't know what would be considered reasonable. And And you talked about, the 25 megawatt and 100 megawatt,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I've got these,
I'm
some
fine
of the
with
stuff
it.
abbreviated, but yeah, all right, so I mean, you see it, I'll put it in, I'm gonna expand the abbreviations that aren't used throughout the document and keep the ones that are, and other than that, it'll be there, so. Anything else from anyone? Okay, so I'm gonna stop the share so I can see everyone. I'll call the roll. We'll do Bressler,
Aye.
Kiara, Michael.
I said aye.
Oh, okay, good. I couldn't hear it.
Hmm.
Hasty,
Aye.
Pycroft,
I,
Seifert,
Hi.
Weston.
Aye.
Yeah, I'm an aye. The motion carries unanimously. The minutes from November 10th, 2025 have been approved. So I'll incorporate these changes in and do that right after we wrap up tonight. All right, moving right along.
Mary Lou's got her hand up.
What?
Mary Lou's got her hand up.
Oh, yes. Mary Lou, would you like to say something?
Yes, please. Thank you, Michael. I know you all understand what you're talking about in regard to the data center stuff, but I just have like, a quick layperson question. Are you seriously considering it to come into Shutesbury, or are you like in the talk about it stage?
Mary Lou, are you asking whether there's been a proposal for a data center, or
Say what?
are you asking if there's been a proposal to build a data center?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, data center, I looked it up. It's not a good thing. It uses water like stupid waste, and considering that we are on groundwater, I don't think I'd want to live around a data center, never mind a cell tower. But so since you people seem to be the ones who give out these quote unquote special permits to do all this stuff in town, where are we at with this data center talk? Because I do not know your lingo. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I guess maybe then I am
Well,
asking, has there been a proposal?
no, there has not been a proposal.
Thank you.
What's happened is there's been the planning board put forward a warrant article that appeared on the warrant for a special town meeting back in October, right? And the
Or-
warrant article passed. What's that? Okay, I think, never mind. So we had a special town meeting in October with where the planning board put forward a warrant article that explicitly prohibited data centers and established a moratorium period until a future date coincides with annual town meeting of next year. I forget what the date was specifically, end of April, end of May, sometime like that. And it also included a definition in the bylaw of what a data center is. This warrant did pass at special town meeting and is now with the state attorney general municipal law office under review.
Thank you, Nate.
In the interim time, the planning board has taken up, developing a zoning bylaw that would possibly permit data centers in one or more districts in town with pursuant to a special permit application and, the various elements of whatever this bylaw turns out to be. And, if the board finalizes a bylaw, if and when it does, one step that will happen before annual town meeting would be to hold a public hearing, at which time you will have opportunity to voice your, to make your comments known about any proposed zoning amendment. So that will be, you can always come and give public comment, and we don't mind, answering some questions. However, I would note that, at a public hearing, that will be the time when you'll have the opportunity to make your comments about a proposed zoning amendment.
Very good.
Okay, and with that, we will be moving on to our data center bylaw discussion. And I understand Michael has distributed an updated draft to the board. And he's starting to share his screen, and here we go.
Okay.
Michael.
So, first, my thanks to Nathan and Keith, who are the people I got feedback from this last round. And basically, what the process has been, after our last discussion last month, they sort of took all the input, reworked some things, did a little bit more research, ran it by Nathan to look at stuff, got some feedback from him, tweaked it some more, sent it to Keith, and then sent it out to everybody. So it's gone through a couple of iterations, but should reflect most of what we talked about. So just per usual, the green text is what got added since the last planning board meeting, and the stuff in yellow highlight is things that I felt we definitely needed to just talk about. Some things got changed that probably not. So I'll just let through it there. Maybe we can cycle back to the discussion part. There's not that many, but one of the big changes, if you remember last time, there were 3 categories for data centers. One was municipal. The feedback was that was confusing and maybe not necessary. So now we ended up with 2. They have different names. So the smaller one, which I think originally the last version was called small, is now micro. And then there's small, and as Steve has pointed out, in the industry it's called edge, but it seemed like we should create our own because you never know if the industry can change something. So those are the 2. And then one of the conversation pieces is for the micro ones, the really small ones. We talked about them being site plan review, and the question would be, should it be the planning board who does the site plan review, or should it be the ZBA? So that's sort of that one question to review. In terms of definitions, there's the general one, and then the micro and the small got rid of the larger one. And the only thing that's notable here is that I actually don't remember if it was a comment or just seemed based on the conversation, but originally the micro, the very small ones, were 100 square feet, and that increases to 150. So that's something we can discuss. But the other one, the smaller one, is remained 5,000 square feet or less, which is what we had talked about for the small ones. So going down, so probably the most substantive area of conversation was both the cooling and then the electrical storage and backup. So the cooling, we already had talked about that there wouldn't be any groundwater, surface water withdrawn for cooling. There wouldn't be toxic or hazardous waste. Hazardous waste and refrigerants would not be contain PFAS. This was something that I added. We should actually probably just check in with. Keith made a comment about it would be hard to measure this, but the idea would be if you're actually cooling this and you're pushing out hot air, you don't want the abutters to sort of experience hotter air. So that's something we could discuss. Down here under electrical storage and backup, I tried to rewrite it a little bit based on the comments from the last meeting. And I think the thing of note is that I think we had agreement that we wanted to prohibit both diesel and gasoline generators and the worst kind of lithium batteries, which is lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt oxide, which are the more prone to fires. The question, which we might want to discuss, is some people talked about prohibiting propane because it was fossil fuel. I know Steve had suggested propane because it wasn't diesel and it wasn't gasoline, so that's something we should just clarify. And then number two here, this is Keith had mentioned at the meeting, suggesting that we space out the lithium ion containers and cabinets. So there were 3 times more the National Fire Prevention Association recommendations. So that's captured here. And then if anyone saw, we talked about trying to limit the capacity size for batteries. And there was Whately about a month or so ago passed a BESS bylaw, and they tied it to the current BESS model bylaw that's not finalized, but in draft that DOER put out. And there's different tiers of size. And so the 250 kilowatt hours aligns with the smallest tier of BESS. So that's tying it into that. Generators we talked about, that there's air quality issues, and so tying into both DEP and the Shutesbury Board of Health and Regulations. And then water usage, this was mostly the same. This sort of ties to the language that I pulled in last time from the solar bylaw. This part is new, but it reflects the conversation about not creating a reasonable risk that groundwater on abutting land becomes significantly diminished. So again, we can cycle back to all this stuff. All these things are pretty straightforward. There was a typo that Keith pointed out. Dimensions, these got put in here based on our conversation. So the maximum floor area would be 5,000 square feet. Last time I took a polygon at some point. And we're talking now, it's sort of become aggregate square footage. I think Tom had talked about maximum height. And so we tied it to the dimensional table for what the heights are per district. And then frontage also just ties it back to the frontage in the dimensional table that exists. We had a conversation about should we allow more than one data center on a parcel, and basically what I think the consensus was is we can do, yes, we're going to allow more than one. And then this is where the whole getting rid of the polygon and talking about total square footage came in. So the sum of the square footage, I think, was Tom's suggestion. Depending on what the sum is, it would either be the micro or it would be the small. If it was bigger than the small, then it would be prohibited. And that's so taking them all together. This is just some clarifying language that Keith had suggested about signage. This, in terms of the mitigation of fires, this whole next section is about mitigation. This basically requires that if they're utilizing battery energy storage, that they're required to submit an emergency response plan approved by the fire chief in Shutesbury, making sure there's adequate fire suppression resources, either on site or reasonably accessible, and a containment infrastructure for runoff. Mitigation for air pollution, they have to comply with DEP air pollution. This was a addition here in the documentation. This is for mitigation of drinking water protection. That where it already had been that there needs to be documentation for the Board of Health, indicating the data center not posing a reasonable risk of water quality. Nathan was thinking that this might just be under the purview of Board of Health. We can discuss it, but I added basically that it's based on estimated use of water for regular and peak operations in Shutesbury to create some context. There's a question here for discussion about for noise. The question was, should the planning board require or not require a noise assessment to be conducted at the applicant's expense. That's something we discussed. I think Keith had wondered if we should require it or just may have it. I think we're almost at the end here. Oh, this is a small thing, but in copying over the language from the solar bylaw about fencing, I sort of tweaked it a little bit, and Keith had pointed out, I think I said opaque, and he was like, "Do you really want opaque?" So I thought this sort of works, but it's up to you guys, that the fencing should blend into the surrounding environment, whatever that might be. Because I think the idea is, we don't want it to be a huge garish orange thing, for example. This is just that there's a document in terms of materials, that the document that there's no PFAS to use on site for cooling and fire suppressing. And when known with the components, they might not know, so we can't require it, but we definitely want to prohibit the on-site cooling and fire suppression with PFAS. And then the discontinued operations, I rewrote this. Just in terms of it's interesting. I listened to a story today where they're talking about Virginia and the data center push nationally. And there was a comment about, well, if data centers are a financial bubble, which some people are saying, and some of these things don't happen, what happens if they get built but don't get used, kind of thing. So this is sort of speaking to, we've had this with the solar bylaw and we had the energy storage, but basically it's discontinuance. So if a data center stops functioning as it's permitted, per the permit that we give it, there's a couple of scenarios. I mean, if it was sold and it continued to be a data center, then everything goes to the new owner. It's just if it stops being used at that, what would be required to be removed? And the time frame for that. So I sort of updated this a little bit, and that's the end. So I can go back to the beginning and we can jump through to whatever people want to talk about.
All right, I got a question. And
Okay.
your sound is really weird. It's like sometimes you sound like you're a machine and sometimes you sound like Michael.
Oh, hold on. Let me change my mic.
Okay. This may just be something I missed, but we're prohibiting the use of water in here, but then it talks about water use in another provision. And I'm wondering, is that only related to the wells of the abutters, or is it for like if it has a bathroom, for example, and they need water for a bathroom in there or something?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Audio. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Good. So Ashley, I missed like the last just little bit. I know you're talking about water. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And you definitely sound better. Uh, we're not allowing them to use groundwater, right? That's one of the provisions. But then somewhere else it talks about their water use. So I was just confused, and I need to pull it up myself. I had it pulled up, but I lost it in all these minutes. So
I think it was the part where we're talking about the impact on the abutters.
that's what I was wondering, if it was just something related to the abutters. Okay.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I guess I think actually Keith had pointed out that we might not need the abutter section as well for that. Logically speaking, if you're not extracting anything out of the water, it gets to the whole point of, I'll just get to where that is. It's where the Board of Health, we're requiring a statement from the Board of Health saying that there's, here, it's right here. The applicant shall require documentation from the Shutesbury Board of Health
indicating that the data center will not pose an unreasonable, that's noise. From the Shutesbury indicating that the data center will not pose an unreasonable risk of existing water quality or volume / availability to residents and businesses to a distance determined reasonable by the Board of Health. The documentation shall include data of estimated use of water for regular and peak operations in Shutesbury. So we could omit it because we're prohibiting water to be taken out, but I guess do we want to just keep it in?
So my thinking, Michael and Ashley, I picked up on that too, that it seemed maybe unnecessary. So I think we're prohibiting groundwater or surface water for that matter, use for cooling, which would probably be, that's the quantities that we're probably worried about. And so I thought, well, maybe this section isn't necessary, but there might be uses they might use water for other reasons, firefighting. And what dawned on me, and I think it was that that webinar, Tom, that you linked, the BESS webinar, where they suggested, if you have an isolated BESS facility, you might perhaps have a water tank or a pond for firefighting water. So if a facility needed firefighting water and they built a water tank and then filled that water tank with groundwater, that might be a case where we would want to ensure that they didn't withdraw groundwater at a rate that would affect the neighbors' wells.
Thank you. That's a great point. I might have thought about that back when, but I've forgotten. Ashley, is that hit upon what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking at the document. Is this document that you're sharing with us more updated than the one that you sent to us?
Only like a couple of words which are highlighted in purple, but basically it's identical.
All right.
So it shouldn't have changed spacing or anything like that.
Yeah, I got so many things open. I mean, somebody can talk about something else, and when I actually figure out what I'm talking about, I'll raise my hand again.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind staying on it if that's okay, because I think I had a similar question on page 2 where it talks about cooling. A data center shall not withdraw groundwater or surface water for cooling. And that's what led me, I think, to the similar confusion later when it talked about where the wellheads for the data center would be. And so I'm wondering, maybe it could be tied up or cleaned up a little bit with just some language acknowledging that for non-cooling purpose, water used for non-cooling purposes somewhere.
It's on page 3. Yeah, right there, water usage.
Okay, this one.
Yeah. Yep, that's what I was talking about.
Because that also made me pause. I was like, wait, I thought there weren't going to be. And then I thought, like, Ashley, maybe it's for the bathroom or.
Michael, before you make that.
Firefighting makes sense.
Before you
too.
do that, Michael.
Yeah.
So I want to bring your attention to section 8.13-2 B.
Here?
Upon written request by the applicant, the planning board may waive or reduce any site plan review or special permit requirement of this section 8.13 by the same majority vote for the permit itself upon written findings included in the permit if special circumstances, blah, 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 and that such a waiver does not negate the provisions of section 8. Basically the purpose above, right? No, it's not. No, 8.13-4A1, which is special circumstances of the site surroundings of the proposal that negate the need for imposing of the requirement or the objective of the section may be met in an alternative manner, right? And that such a waiver or reduction will not derogate from the public purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw. Right? So, if a proposal was received where, these requirements were met, the requirement to, prohibiting use of groundwater for cooling could be waived by the planning board. In which case these, provisions become much more relevant.
That's helpful. I mean, one thing I just remind us that were in the notes I had from last time is that we wanted to focus on the results slash outcomes that we're looking for as opposed to like the technologies and things. So I tried to sort of do that. So for example, not depleting the neighbor's water is different from like how you would not deplete.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, basically, I think, this clause in here about, requiring the Board of Health to, weigh in on any water usage associated with the application is valid, whether it's for cooling or otherwise, right?
Yeah.
It could be, and it could be water usage and what's water usage? So that would include drawing water and discharging water, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. I mean, we could make it more explicit.
That whole discharging water thing, we haven't touched on that, but I think that might open up a whole another DEP can of worms that's beyond us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, if you have a, point source discharge, that's regulated by the DEP for sure, right? And we heard a lot about that at the library site, right? I think, there was well, we didn't hear about it on the board, but, if there's a point source discharge for any kind of facility, that's something that is, I believe regulated.
Should we put in a discharge thing here and reference DEP? Would that cover it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, and I mean, that also might be covered in the wetlands protection bylaw. So I mean, we could call it a research item for sure, yeah.
Okay. Is that okay with everybody else? Okay. Jeff,
And,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Nathan.
yeah, I was just gonna, before we moved on to the next thing, I was gonna note that, one of the things that always kind of bothered me about some of the conversations around solar, before I was really, completely uninvolved in them or whatever, was this, we had the definition of a large scale ground mounted solar, right? And the definitions, and it would say what, 15 acres, right? Or right, that the lot or that it couldn't be bigger than 15 acres.
Yeah.
Right? And we all knew that they were trying to propose, sites that were going to be greater than that. And it was always kind of like, like when Jeff would talk about it, he would say, oh yeah, we can waive that. But to me, if it's in the, it would be, more ideal to have that within the body of the regulation as opposed to in the definition, so that it's more clear that it's covered by the clause, the waiver clause.
Yeah, we did do that in the 2023 solar bylaw that got rejected for that very reason, because it's like you don't want to have to refer to the definitions to understand how big these things have to be or anything like that. It's yeah. Jeff.
Hi, thanks. I don't have my notes in front of me because I'm coming in from Ann Arbor, but these are the things that are concerning me right now. I know that in 2023, 6,000 gallons of water were required to put out a single Tesla battery. And we're talking about these lithium battery systems that are, many, many times larger than that. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to stop you there because I think I've in thinking about that, so it's, the first conversation was about scale and how big these things are. So these won't be monster ones because the biggest that they'll be is 5,000 square feet. So, it's bigger than a residence, but not a humongous thing. So I'm not sure what kind of battery support systems it would be,
Right.
but it won't be like one of the mega ones. Just
I understand what you're saying, but we're talking about a Tesla battery in a single car versus whatever data center batteries would be, which would be significantly larger than that. And we have a single tanker of 3,000 gallons. So it seems like we're asking for, these are just my opinions. And the American Chemical Society has come out with an extensive study of showing how the water released from these lithium batteries are toxic to because of the lithium and magnesium and copper and ions are toxic to living things. And since we have only a single aquifer over Shutesbury, I don't quite understand how this could possibly be safe for the residents of Shutesbury to have a large lithium battery, certainly larger than a single Tesla battery in a car, how that could possibly be safe for the residents of Shutesbury. So this conversation is a little bit puzzling for me. So I'll end it there.
Well, I will say I actually have never looked to see what kind of lithium batteries are in vehicles. I sort of feel like they're not the iron phosphate, which are the more stable ones. But I mean, I've been very concerned about lithium ion batteries. My thought was if we were having them be the iron phosphate version, which are less volatile, and they were for smaller units, it might be in the range of reasonable. But I think this section right here, what we're prohibiting, the two things that are up for grabs is if you need a generator, what's the fuel for generation? Currently we have diesel and gasoline we're prohibiting. And then, like I said, propane is something we should discuss. I mean, it's cleaner than the other two, but it's also a fossil fuel. And then in terms of the energy storage, there are lots of other technologies. The primary one is, lithium based. So the lithium, nickel, manganese, cobalt, oxide ones are the really bad ones. The iron phosphate are presumably more stable. So, I mean, we could not have any lithium ion batteries of any chemistry and require other kind of batteries for storage. I mean, we could say no storage, but I think that's probably not practical. Because I think if they do need storage for downtime and stuff. So I don't know. What do people think?
How did you?
Well, I was going to note that you might want to. Word on the street is that the town is looking at installing some electric vehicle charging stations at Town Hall.
Not anymore.
Oh no?
No, yeah. In order to do it, you have to have a paved parking lot, which we don't have. So until we're getting paved, we're not doing anything.
Okay.
Welcome
I
to
guess
Shutesbury.
we're off the hook for the time being. But I think I would note that I'm quite sure there are several people in town who have electric vehicles. So it seems that this threat of a battery fire of a single Tesla could already be present in town, and I'm not sure how a report about this water use for that battery fire really translates to this conversation because we don't know how the fire was caused or why they use so much water. Is that currently the best practice under a fire department? It's very difficult to really translate that to this effort. But I think wherever we can, we should think about incorporating the most current practices for fire suppression or what have you, or essentially, requirements around uh, requiring a emergency response plan with the fire department and other emergency services, right? That kind of thing to make sure that we're doing everything we can to appropriately mitigate any risk of fire and subsequent contamination from that.
Can I just add that we need to keep this whole lithium ion battery fire thing in perspective. And if you read any of the reports, there's a good report out of Australia, New South Wales put out a pretty comprehensive report there, whatever they call their fire agency, on the leading lithium ion battery fires are scooters and wheelchairs and e-bikes and power tools and toys. Fires from either home battery energy storage or bigger battery energy storage are exceedingly rare. But whenever there's a fire and a battery is involved, it just gets the headline lithium ion battery fire. I mean, how many of us have hybrid cars? How many of us have e-cars? And how many of us stay up at night waiting for our car to burst into flames? I think it's a new technology. I think people are naturally wary of new technology. I think as time goes on and that the actual risk involved becomes more and more apparent, we'll find that we're probably spending a lot of time on something that we may not need to.
Well, I think the other thing, just Thomas, your hands up. I think in addition, I mean, Jeff, for me, I mean, I've always had the concern. I guess the things that I was trying to put in here to mitigate that, one was the requirement that the police chief has to sign off on a emergency response plan. So contamination and firefighting. So if the police chief says, we don't have the water, we can't do it, then you don't get the report, it doesn't pass. The other thing I think is just down here, number 3, which is the aggregate storage of a battery is going to be 250 kilowatts, which I think is, in this small range. I don't know how to quantify that, but I think the whole idea is to bring it small. It'd be obviously than a residential battery, but it's not going to be big like a big solar installation of a commercial size. I mean, that's how I'm coming to peace with this, is that if it's small, I get your point about the car. So anyway, Tom?
Thanks. One immediate question. It's not my first one, but you just said police chief a few times, Michael.
Oh, fire chief. Okay. Fire chief, yeah.
And I actually had a question about number 3 there, and whether or how you got the 250 number, which is to say, does that align with what we know about data centers and what the typical battery storage would be for them? Like, is that the normal proportions that a data center less than 5,000 square feet would never have battery storage greater than 250 kilowatt hours?
It aligns with the clean energy regs. The state's developing model solar bylaw and a model energy storage bylaw. And in the model energy storage bylaw, there's different tiers of batteries and therefore regulations associated with that. And so tier 1 is the smallest, and 250K is the ceiling for the smallest tier. So it seems like by definition, it's going to have to be among the smaller batteries on an installation. That's where I got it from.
If it's realistic, I don't know what the reality is for data centers and battery storage. If anybody knew if that's like a doable thing, even.
Yeah, I don't.
So can I offer one? I think the current fire code allows up for a single family residence or 2-family residence up to, I think it's 60 kilowatt hour aggregate battery capacity per home.
What was the number, Keith?
60 kWh.
Okay.
That's off the top of my head out of the fire code. And And the other, Tom, I think, I'm thinking these battery backups are basically like a uninterruptible power supply for your computer. It gives you enough time to shut your system down. I'm not thinking that these things are going to be able to, if we have a week-long blackout, I'm not envisioning the data center having enough battery capacity to run. I'm just saying, in my mind, I'm thinking this gives you enough time to not destroy your equipment or lose data, shut down your facility, and then restart it when the power comes back.
So,
I think that's accurate. And, depending
have-
on the nature of the, use, I think sometimes batteries are used to ensure stable voltage and frequency and things like that, right? Because there can be disturbances on the electrical system that can impact some sensitive electronic equipment. And sometimes batteries are used to ensure that if there is such a disturbance on the grid, that it doesn't get into your facility and damage your equipment.
Mhm.
Well,
so two points. Let me just quickly make. One, Keith, is typically these battery storage systems have their own internal UPS units, which provide enough time for the system to shut down. So the backup battery for what we're talking about would avoid the UPS, but then the other function of backup battery is to level out supply and demand across time.
Mhm.
So it's not just for backup.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks.
So,
can I say a little more about why I was asking?
of course.
In Wendell right now, there's a BESS that's being proposed that would be 2.8 megawatts, which would be about 11 times the 250 here. It's a lithium iron phosphate. And according to the manufacturer, there's a 150-foot zone around the battery, which shouldn't be penetrated by people in the case of a thermal runaway event. During a thermal runaway event, you would have to wet all of the stuff greater than 150 feet away, like forest or the buildings, the solar panels or whatever. And their estimates with the flow rates that would be needed to do that would amount to 300,000 gallons of water for 6 hours of continuous spraying in an event like that. I don't know if it's just a simple proportional thing where you could take 1/11 of 300,000, which gives you about 27,000 gallons of water. But I just wonder if I think it will come down a lot to an emergency response plan and approval from the fire chief. But just to give some ideas to people, if that math were correct, it would be a minimum of 25,000 gallons of water just to mitigate like usually you just let it burn and you cool down the areas around it so that they don't catch fire too.
So one other small thing that's come up. There are other technologies, non-PFAS based technologies that can suppress thermal runaway, issues, which we could look into, other than water.
Well, the water would be for not the runaway, like that would just be let to burn.
It would be internal to the facility, I believe. Tom.
I'm talking about the firefighting for around the battery, not of the battery. Like,
No, I'm talking about of the batteries themselves. Where in the unit that they're installed in, there are, I believe, and I need to look into it more, non-PFAS fire suppressing chemicals that can be used. I don't know much about them. I would have to do more research.
Yeah, you can even pipe water, like the one in Wendell might even have ports for water to go in to use in not the first case scenario. In the first case scenario, they would let it burn, but there is an option to flood it with water on the inside and try to suppress or cool the batteries that are in thermal runaway.
I thought they were getting away from applying water directly to the electronics just because.
Right, they don't want to ever.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first course of action, but
Well, I will say from looking at research, I'm not a fan of lithium ion battery technology, but there's definitely other technologies out there. So in the Berkshires, they're doing an iron flow battery, which I sent you guys. But there's also lithium ion batteries that are submerged. Like I don't know how it works, but the battery is actually in a tank of water. So I don't know how one would write a policy because the technology is lithium ion, but it's submerged in water. But there's different approaches. I think
I'm gonna step in for a second, Michael. I think we're getting really off track here.
I know. I was going to summarize.
Bring it back to some kind of actionable item.
That's what I was going to do.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I was going to say, I think the variables are for someone. Maybe Keith said splitting out generation from storage because they get conflated, but it's worth separating out. So we should look at if we're going to have generators, what should the generators be? I think we so far agreed that diesel and gasoline are not great. So propane, we could allow or not allow. And then for storage, I think that's still an open question about what we do for storage. Do we at one extreme, we could not do it. We could not allow storage. And at the other extreme, we could allow certain technology. So I think this is something we can't resolve right now that we have to continue discussing, but I'll split them out because I think that helps. And
can we also, is there a way to put Michael somewhere like that wiggle, like because technology is changing, like that the proponent that basically gives the planning board leeway to review something as it comes along, again, if something we don't envision, that we could review it, and if they make a case, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that we don't have to spell out every technology.
No, Keith, don't we have that in the waivers, in that waiver?
Yeah, but I was thinking make it at least, we have it explicit somewhere else.
The other thing is,
sorry.
it's not binding, but we could say that projects that don't use lithium iron batteries are preferred, which doesn't mean they can't bring it forth, but it sends a message that we'd rather look at something else. And if someone came forward, presumably some applicants would want to make the planning board happy on the front end. Doesn't necessarily mean the case. So I think this needs more discussion and review, but I would say between now and January, if you guys have, I'll come up with something, but send me thoughts. I think this is part, I was trying to get it from different angles in terms of keeping it small. But so I'll move on, just given Nathan's thing. Is there any other areas of the new stuff that you guys wanted to highlight for discussion? Want me to scroll down slowly, making no one nauseous? We got the water usage thing already. We talked about that. Let's see.
Oh, Michael, I just have one item that I noticed when you were going through, which was relating to generators, and I don't know if it was Mass DEP regs or whatnot.
Let's see. Yeah, air quality is the one. The air quality mitigation.
Yeah. So, if possible, we should try and get a reference for that, like
I got it. C10.
Yeah.
CMR 700.
All right. I maybe it was something else.
Yeah. And, let's see. So in terms of the noise one, do people feel like, I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
No, this was just a note to Nathan because we haven't even dealt with the vegetation growing next to our lithium batteries in the town. So maybe we could put a note on in terms of discussing that because there's literally vegetation right next to the lithium batteries in our town that leads right into this area of forest. So I think we should eventually talk about that, but that has nothing to do with what we're doing right now. It's just a note to have a future discussion about that. Thank you.
Hey,
Very good.
hey,
think
Michael,
we-
with this section about the noise assessment, I put
Yeah.
that require in there because it seemed like there was a word missing. So I
Oh,
wasn't necessarily advocating to require that. I just wasn't sure what word was supposed to be there.
Okay. I don't want to make everyone crazy. So do people think we should require a noise assessment, or it should be more of a may? Tom, and then, I don't know, Jeff, if your hand's still up after Tom.
I actually had a question about something else.
Okay,
So,
I
isn't-
would require a noise assessment if you are asking.
okay.
Isn't
Steve?
noise assessment, doesn't noise assessment come under Board of Health?
Yeah, it's just that we would require, well, the applicant has to require documentation from the Board of Health indicating that the data set would not pose unreasonable noise levels. So we're asking for documentation from Board of Health. So this is not, the noise assessment's not essential. I mean, the Board of Health could require it if they wanted to.
Right.
So one could say it's overkill, one could say it's, more information for us.
So here, I think I'm feeling like this gets a little tricky. And, this is where I'm actually glad that we're kind of trying to coordinate a little bit with the Board of Health. Right now, I don't know how well suited the Board of Health is to, assess whether or not a proposal from a data center is going to, constitute a unreasonable noise levels, right? You know what I mean? So, like, depending on what the regulations are that they end up coming out with, could kind of affect what we want to say here. But I think, at the very least, we should say, the planning board may require a noise assessment be, completed to demonstrate that, data center operations will not violate the noise ordinance, including the Mass DEP noise regulations cited as 310 CMR 7.10, something like that, right? So it's kind of like, we are gonna, impose this, we may impose this on you as a condition of operating a data center.
Well, if we took out that first Board of Health reference, then we could just keep everything and say may require. So it would be all within our control.
Yeah, I mean, that seems, and I'm not, and, I don't know, like, I'm not opposed to referencing the Board of Health, but it just may, just make a note there that we should look at what the Board of Health does if we can, up to the point of our public hearing or whatever, right?
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, based on the wind turbine, when we looked at the excessive noise bylaw that Shutesbury have, I think the Board of Health is part of that process. So,
Well, right, yeah. So I mean, they are listed on it.
yeah. Tom, you've been very patient.
Thanks. Yeah. So I'm asking about 813.5A, the mitigation for fire risks.
Am I going up or down? Let's see.
At the bottom of page 5.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
The questions I have, what confused me, etc., was the first part of the sentence, at the discretion of the planning board. I wondered why that was included as opposed to just starting with data centers shall be required to submit an emergency response plan. Especially because of the waiver language up above. I didn't know what the purpose of adding the at the discretion of the planning board was. On top of that, I wanted to know if this meant that if a data center did not utilize battery energy storage systems, would it therefore not be required to submit an emergency response plan approved by the fire chief? Or only if it utilizes battery energy storage systems?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, my thinking when I put it in here was I was trying to get at the risk associated with lithium batteries. And so this seemed like a direct tie-in that if we were going to allow them, that this was required.
Sure.
I didn't see any fire risk from anything else. If people have thoughts that we should require it no matter what, it's easy enough to keep. But that was the thinking behind it originally.
And then the last part was, I think they are different things, an emergency response plan and an incident action plan. And I didn't know if we wanted to reference an incident action plan as well, which I understand to be more of like an on-the-ground instruction sheet for when it's happening, what happens, and the emergency, like who comes in and does what for firefighting, who stands where, who calls whom. And I've understood. Oh, it is there. I'm sorry. Pardon me.
No, I put it in just now.
Oh, you just typed it in. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah, yeah.
emergency response plan, I understand, is a little more general, like who would be the contact person, who would know how to shut it off, and not actually the doing of things during an event. So we might want to look into that.
Okay. Should I continue just scrolling before we run out of steam?
Yeah, Michael, will you go up to just I want to say it's the bottom of page, top of page 2 maybe, or bottom of page 2? And
Top of page 2, you said? What's the
Hold on.
content?
hold on. Yeah, I'm sorry, bottom of page 2. It should be right before water usage. Yeah.
That part?
Yeah, now it's so that's what I'm looking at right there, number 5.
Yeah.
So that's where is it? You showed me the CMR earlier. 'Cause
That
it's
was
not-
that was in the mitigation.
okay. Oh, and this is by DP. Do we need the 2 separate clauses? I can look at that and maybe try and figure it out, but
Yeah, it might be duplicative. I can check too.
yeah. But this is the one I was thinking.
Okay.
So, all right, that's all I had. I'm trying to look at it's 8:30 and I think we're starting to get a bit behind here.
Yeah.
So I think we might, unless you've got anything else you want to try and answer right now.
Well, I think we identified things that need more work. And I think the only place of major, discussion, non-consensus is, the battery composition, which sort of carries over from previous things. So if you guys want to, Keith.
I got one quick question about the 5,000 square feet. Is that the footprint of the building, or does that include if it's multiple floors?
I'm thinking about it as well. That's a good quote. We should clarify. I was thinking about it as the footprint of the building plus equipment. If there were batteries, if there was other stuff, but I wasn't thinking about up. But it's a good question. I guess Steve, you are the one who's talked about Edge Centers being 5,000 square feet. Do you have a sense if that's the volume or
That's the total volume across any number of floors.
Okay. So I should clarify that. Okay.
Area.
Yeah.
Talking about area.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's written out. It just says it's like a house. If you looked at a house, it would tell you the square footage
Right.
Yeah.
over X number of floors.
So if this is it, in which the area of the built facility is that you would all understand that to be multiple floors?
Yeah, I would take a peek at some of the other items in the bylaw, particularly the dimension table and see if it says footprint or, total square footage. Because this may kind of be rather than a, livable space in like a residence kind of thing, more of a, what's the maximum amount of, cleared land that we're going to result with, right? And I mean, it might be something worth, thinking about more in terms of, the building and this, the work site itself,
Yeah.
parking lot, fencing perimeter, that kind of thing. But
So the only thing I was gonna say before we switch is I started thinking about timing. So we're in December. I think we're having annual town meeting in April.
May,
In
right?
May.
Or is it going to be in, well, because in special town meeting, we passed the bylaw.
I can't remember. Oh yeah, that's right. It's gonna be in May sometime.
I think so.
So we probably then want to have public hearing beginning of April. So I'd say we got, January and February to sort of work it out, set up a public meeting, maybe for March, something like that. So just in terms of thinking, I think we probably have, 2 months leisurely, 3 months if we're really up to the gun to sort of figure out. But am I correct in assuming it looks like a lot of this is, pretty okay? We just have some key things that we have to sort of nail down. Okay, that's good. So I'll change the color coding and I'll highlight things in hot pink that we still have to deal with. Batteries being the most important one. Okay, cool. I will stop sharing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So thank you, Michael. I was thinking about maybe talking to the fire department a little bit, but I don't know if anyone's done that.
I haven't.
All right.
I have not.
He's a very strict adherent to the Mass Fire Code. And the Mass Fire Code on vests and battery storage is very detailed.
Good to know. All right. Next on our agenda, we're going to look at, what do we have?
Member updates.
Member updates. And I think most of what I expect here is going to be from Michael. Michael's got all kinds of things to talk about.
I only got two.
Two?
Yeah. So the first one I wanted to check in. So I reached out to Nathan and basically said we had talked after special town meeting about coming up with some kind of policy roadmap for how one has a dissenting opinion and sort of codifying that. So I want to just take a minute or two to confirm what we thought was okay and what was not okay, and then I could try to sort of figure out where does that live and what does it look like, and we could sort of bring that forth. If it's part of the bylaws, we'd have to, get a town meeting approved if it's just a policy. I'm not sure where it lives and what it looks like yet, but it seemed like we did have a discussion afterwards. And as I remember, there was two components. There was what went in the report to the town, the ability to sort of speak at the front of the room versus as a resident. Those were sort of the two dynamics. And I don't know how deep we want to get into this, but I thought we could work on that in parallel with the other.
Yeah, I don't want to have any discussion about it right now,
Okay.
except to kind of note that, I thought, you were going to do some,
I am.
look into it or whatever. And I would say
Yep.
if anyone is curious about it, take a look, and you can send stuff to me. You can send stuff to Michael on it. And, with the moderator piece, right? That would probably best be a bylaw to say if a town, if a public body for the town puts forth a warrant article that, and there's a split decision on it from that public body, that members of that minority may address town meeting in the same manner as does the supporting majority. So that would be a general bylaw. For the planning board and any other municipal board we want to do, and we want to probably talk to the moderator about that and possibly others. So it would be good to get some traction on it. The other piece with the planning board report, we can determine formally or informally how to deal with that. And I know that some are there's some different opinions about that as well. So I think it would be, I would like to know if there are any if there's any precedent outside of our special town meeting we just had of there being multiple recommendations in that report.
Okay. So I'm gonna do some research and then bring it back to everybody.
Yeah, well, I would like to have an actual discussion about it in
Yeah.
January. I'd like to keep the data center bylaw discussion in January to a minimum. And I would encourage members to, if you've got anything you're looking at, try and get some stuff together to help the board to understand what changes you're trying to make and why you're trying to make them, so that we might be able to hopefully have a concise conversation about it. I know that's easier said than done, but
Michael, can you send out a cleaned copy of what we just kind of went through?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'll highlight the stuff for sure. So the other thing is a very exciting opportunity. I went to the first FERCog Planning Advisory Board meeting last week, and they had a list of membership, and they didn't have the alternate listed, even though Nathan said that he was interested. So there's actually an open slot. Nathan is willing to have someone else do it, I guess is the most magnanimous way to say it. So if someone wants to be the alternate, which I think you can come with me, or if I can't come, so it's not, they're taking attendance for the people who are supposed to be there, but I think if you're an alternate, you can show up. So I know Keith, you had suggested.
Yeah, I'd love to join you, Michael.
Okay. Anyone else dying to do it? You want to thumb wrestle for it? Okay. I'll send in your name, Keith.
All right, thank you.
outstanding.
Guys for doing that. Appreciate it.
It's a relatively
big
lighter
time.
list.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's time. And it's FERCog is a different kind of track than the stuff we typically do. So it's, I don't know, it's another set of things if you're really trying to get involved, needs to look at. But I mean, depends on what's going on, I guess. Nothing on state regs for solar or anything like that. That's all still in the air, moving target.
Yeah, I mean they're slowly moving forward. There should be something coming out. I mean, there is a hearing next week for the Emergency Facility Siting Board, but that's the large ones, not us. So there's nothing for DOER yet that is ready to review for the next round.
Well, I'd like to mention also that Michael had sent us some stuff on FEMA floodplains.
Yeah.
They're looking at the floodplain map, and Mateo and the I believe the administrative secretary for the select board received some notices regarding this some time ago, right? And so this is an ongoing process, and apparently at some point we may need to have a bylaw discussion about it. We already have a section in the bylaw for FEMA floodplain overlay district. However, when Michael sent out the information the other day, I took a peek at the state website, and they have they did a draft model bylaw in 2020, and I forgot how many pages I said was, Michael, like 23 pages or something like that.
Yeah.
And ours is like a page and a half, right? It's like one of the shortest sections in our bylaw, right? So I don't know how much of that is going to need it to be, we're going to need to incorporate or whatnot. And, maybe we can just copy paste it. I don't know how much we're gonna need to get in the weeds on that, but
Yeah,
my
I
hope
think,
is we don't have to dedicate too much time to it, but we'll see.
yeah, the only two things I'll share in that conversation, I asked what level of confidence people had, because FEMA is the feds. Currently, the feds don't believe in climate change, so like, what's the 50-year flood and the 100-year flood meaning? And it pointed out that FEMA developed these a few years ago. So it was the previous administration who developed these things. But the other part was I asked, we're on a hill, we're not in the valley. So how much do we care? And what I was told by the planning board rep from Leverett was that technically speaking, the land next to streams are floodplains. So everywhere that we have a stream, we have floodplains. So he said every town's got them. Shutesbury definitely does. Just not what we traditionally think of as floodplains. So that's all I got on that.
Anybody recall the summer of 2021? And the rain we got that summer? It rained like every day in July, or I think, or almost every day.
It was
And
good
then
for
one,
mushroom foraging.
I bet. Yeah. And then one night it rained like, I don't know, 6 inches or whatever. It rained a lot in one night. It was like total torrential downpour almost all night. And Baker Reservoir was right up to the road there. You couldn't even, there's a little culvert that goes under the road, and the water was right there. It was just a little whirl. And if you go down to the Cascades off, down there, that was like Niagara Falls over there. So, I mean, I never saw anything like it around here. It was crazy. But, to your point, Michael, it seems strange up here in the hills that you might be worried about a floodplain, but it was, if you get torrential downpour, I guess it can be a concern.
Yeah.
All right, let's not dilly-dally too much here. I don't think I have anything else explicit for updates. I want to talk quickly about this land use clerk job description. Okay. I sent that to the board earlier today. I meant to send it a little bit earlier. Yeah, and I sent the email. All right, this was related to a little mix-up we had with some of the required notifications on a zoning bylaw amendment. Some of those were missed, right? And it was in the binder. So it was we were trying to figure out, what do we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? And I went to the personnel board at one point, just had a public comment and said, hey, we had this issue. Are you doing some work regarding, town hall employees and that kind of thing, job descriptions, whatnot? And this is, yeah, we're actually, looking at doing some of this stuff. I was like, okay, well, when you do the land use clerk, we're interested in just, making a few little notes there just to kind of cite some of these responsibilities to make sure that they're kind of, there and accessible. All right, so that's basically the extent of what my aim was with that. I may, seek that, there's kind of clarity maybe, and just, because currently the land use clerk works with 3 different boards, and oftentimes, the chair of those boards or the boards themselves, right? So kind of just being able to, outline some of that, roles, responsibilities, expectations, that kind of thing, around that dynamic, organizational, environment that the land use clerk lives in. Now you've got a few different, we have 3 different descriptions that are incorporated in that document I attached in the email earlier. And if you have anything you want to contribute to this, send it to me, and I'll have that with me when I check in with them at a future meeting. I think it's next week, next Thursday. The next thing I wanted to mention was this job description, purchase of zoning act booklets. Michael sent something about that. right?
Yeah, they're very cheap. It's just a matter of the State House clerk, I'm not the bookstore, printed out the zoning act in hard copy. So, I mean, I think they're like $1.75. So, I mean, we could just order one for everybody, and it's going to be no different than it's online, but it's if people want a hard copy of it. So
So I mean, you know, what we got, we'll call it 9 members if we have a full boat with 2 associates. Maybe get a 10th copy for the land use clerk. 10 copies? Should we just do a motion and ask to procure whatever, you know, $15 that'll be, or is that, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
you
that's
should just do it.
we
You're
should
the
just
chair.
do it.
Do we
You're the
need to
chair.
check with FinCom first?
Hey, you know, we have a budget. We do have a budget, so I suppose I don't know. We don't really have any kind of specific guidelines of this kind of thing, but I'm not hearing any opposition to that, am I? All right, let it be noted in the minutes that no member of the board raised any opposition to purchasing these cheap zoning act hard copies. Very good. Now, we don't have any other unanticipated business, not reasonably anticipated by the chair. So that being the case, we'll go ahead and note that we're going to enter into executive session for reason number 3 to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the government's litigating position, litigation specific to the complaint received from Coles regarding the Shutesbury solar bylaw. And specifically, the board intends to review executive session minutes from over the course of the litigation, including dates November 4th, 2024, November 25th, 2024, February 10th, 2025, April 9th, 2025, May 7th, 2025, May 12th, 2025, June 9th, 2025, and June 17th, 2025, and July 14th, 2025. The board will not return to open session. Do I hear a motion to enter into executive session for, and I'm just, yeah, do I hear a motion for this?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, just a little discussion item, right, as I alluded to earlier in the meeting.
Wait, hold on. We have to turn off the recording.
No, it's we haven't done the roll call yet.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just, noting that, we have had discussion with town council to, and so going, even though litigation's over, we're going to go into executive session. I don't think any of the, we need to approve minutes and then separately, review them and decide to release them. So that's the purpose of this, right? We know that the litigation's over, but we have this minute thing, and Donna said that we're okay to go into executive session. Town council did, right? Even though the litigation's over, right? So that's what we're doing here. Now, unless there's any further discussion, I'll call the roll. Bressler,
Aye.
Hasty,
Aye.
Daycara,
Aye.
Pycroft,
Aye.
Weston,
Aye.
Seifert,
Aye.
and all right, we'll go into executive session now. Gotta stop the recording. Good night, everyone.